Pittsburgh. Go to the next slide. Wanted to give you all a little bit of history on how this has worked, and again, I'm not going to go through all this, but what you'll see from 1987 on has been always a program with ambulance service that has been bid out. It has to be bid out, Craig, what, every 11 years? And basically, it's competitively bid. Fire departments have always had and cities have always had the ability to bid for the services. That's never successfully been done. Part of our position is it's always good to competitively bid. It just keeps everybody honest. I'll go to the next one. When our independent study, IPS, did look at fire transport, they determined that it would cost $12 million more for emergency transport by fire, plus $7.7 million for non-emergency transport by fire, and $6.7 million ambulance program support costs. So again, it determined that it would far exceed costs. Next slide. I'm going to move to the next one. County staff looked at the Sanford Milliken study, did an analysis. What you see in front of you is the group of individuals that did that review, including some of the staff involved in the EMS at the county level, management and budget individuals. Actually, the EMS financial manager is a former auditor. So let's go forward. Next slide, please. Commonalities of the county plan and the proposal for fire transport. All proposals are dual response. Again, and this is something sometimes it's not really understood, is that about 98% of all the systems in the United States are dual response. Whether it's all done by fire or it's done separately like we do it, they're still dual response. The principle is first response to arrive first, stabilize patient. The transport unit arrives second if transport's necessary. All proposals support ALS engines for medical first response. All proposals reduce and equalize the cost of ALS first responder services across the 18 cities and fire districts. All proposals, again, support priority dispatch, and all proposals support a lot of the good consolidated features that already exist. Go to the next one. So our main issues, really, all along with the fire transport issue, is cost and logistics. We actually have 18 different fire departments. So again, the only part of our system currently that is consolidated is the ambulance piece. And so one of the concerns is just how do you logistically make sure that you have a system of ambulance as you go to fire transport that works. Number one, we all want it to work. This isn't something we want to play around with. We want to make sure it works. And then, quite frankly, it's just the cost. I mean, is it cost effective to governmentize something that we bid out, and we know what those costs are, and when we also know we're going to be hiring a couple extra, by their own statements, a couple hundred extra more government employees with high-risk pensions. So let's go to the next slide. This is kind of hard to read, and I will state that I'm going to have Mr. Harris send this PowerPoint to your organization, so anybody who wants a copy and wants to look at it. But again, what I really want to show, and you probably can't see it too clearly, is just the total cost of the different program comparisons. Our current cost of our whole system is $85 million. Under the IPS independent study that the county did, it's $74 million. Under the Sanford Milliken, $99 million. And under 10.3, which I can't really read it, so, but it's higher. Let's put it that way. But again, what I really like to point out with this, and I'm actually going to point it out, is right here you have the ambulance number. That is a bid number. It includes everything. We know that. That's our current system. Under the IPS model, the same would be true. We'd be bidding it out. That number includes everything, no surprises. Under both of the fire transport numbers, they actually go up because of labor costs primarily. And again, in our opinion, there's no cost container to make sure that that doesn't continue to go up. The big driver of this, and I will say this, from the day I started looking at this a year and a half ago, 80 to 90% of the system's labor. So what you have in front of you is City of St. Petersburg, salary and benefits at about $134,000, that's the high. You have the countywide average firefighter paramedic is making about $98,000 of pay and benefits, and you have Sunstar paramedic making $58,000 pay and benefits. 80 to 90% of the system's labor. It is hard to get efficiencies that are going to overcome that high cost of labor. if it can be done. I'll be the first one to stand in line that we should do it and implement it. But I think this is the big issue that has to be overcome. It's the salary issue. Next slide. Again, logistics concerns, no deployment analysis was completed for the study, for the proposal. 18 provider agency would fragment the countywide consolidated ambulance service. No accountability for countywide performance. There's really no guarantees for what the performance would be. Proposers do not represent nor speak for the cities. The cities have put in that there's many districts that have said we're interested in looking at fire transport. We want to understand more about the concept. We support the concept. And again, I think that needs to be, because those costs have got to be laid out very transparently, because my sense is only then will these cities and fire districts say I'm in or I'm out. And it's going to be based on cost to the taxpayer. Let's go to the next one. We can go to the next slide. So, one of the things I think that's just important, I have said from the beginning, and I'll continue to say it, I mean, I don't really care how the service is provided, personally. I think from a staff perspective, Craig will say the same thing. We don't care. It's just, it's got to be clear, and the study's got to be clear about what are we really going to get at the end of the day, a system that works and a system that's cost-effective for the taxpayer. Staff's view has been that if fire-based transport would work, you need to do several things. It would have to be a single responsible entity and management structure in place to make sure it works. Significant reduction in labor costs, a fully developed dynamic deployment plan. Our current ambulance service is kind of a master at doing 12-hour shifts and dynamically deploying. If you've got an incident where the trend is that Drew and 19 at 5 o'clock on a Friday, you tend to have multiple accidents, that's where they'll have the ambulances. It's fully dynamic. And then a fully costed proposal. Cities have always been able to submit a bid, they've chosen not to. Let's go to the next one. And this is just a chart that I'm going to provide you. Basically, it's right out of the Department of Health magazine, and it really shows, quite frankly, that the transports, you saw the map that was done by the firefighters, but you'll see on this chart that 41% of transports in the state of Florida are done by fire, and then you can see the other groupings that are done by other agencies. Next one. This is in our analysis of the cost of ambulance services in terms of looking at Sanford Milliken. This is really a true forecast of where we'd be going over the current system and over the IPS proposal, which is all red. It would be long-term debt. Next one. So the only aspect of the system that's already consolidated, as I said before, is the ambulance system. Pinellas County's ambulance service is working well financially, operationally, etc. Patient satisfaction scores that are done independent from the ambulance service are at 96%. They're fully dynamically deployed, reasonable salary and benefits, and a lot of performance-based contract issues that, quite frankly, if they get filed out, for example, on a Medicare billing, if we don't do a Medicare billing right, we basically eat the cost. Now, under the case of Paramedics Plus, they eat the cost, because if they do something wrong out on the street as part of the ambulance service, that's in their contract. They eat the cost, they deal with it. Under a fire-based transport system, at least as it's proposed right now, that doesn't exist. So we'd be eating the cost. So again, there's a lot of accountability within that contract that's bid. Next slide. This slide, and I'm trying to kind of move along here. I think I'm almost towards my end. I think this is an important slide because you saw a lot of things on the cost of ambulance. But the reality is there is a cap on the profit level. In the first 3 years of the ambulance company's contract, the one that we have now, they actually lost $5.7 million. That's because of a lot of capital investment. This is highly capital intensive. Average profit over the last 4 years has actually been $1.3 million. So again, nothing, you'll hear a lot of things about how they're raking in the money, but that's just not really been the case at this point. Overall system coordination and response times are working very well. Over the last 3 years, and this is actually 08, 09, and 10, $9.5 million in ambulance revenue has been used to directly support the cost of the ALS first responder costs from the fire departments. So they've actually been subsidizing that part. In addition, $9 million has been pulled from reserves because of that deficit within the fire department part of the EMS fund, and 75% is built up with the user fees of the ambulance service. In addition, we're just ready to close out the books for 2011, and another $9 million out of reserves will be being used for the deficit of the fire department first responder piece. So again, I have been known to say don't kill the cash cow. We just have to be careful when we look at this that we're not, again, governmentizing something that's just only going to put us in a worse condition. Next slide. So our conclusions were continue to function as a dual response system. All proposals agree on this. Operationalize the full utilization of advanced life support engine for medical first response. All proposals agree. Fully implement priority medical dispatch, which reduces multi-unit response, which is the #1 complaint of citizens. And continue to competitively bid and contract for ambulance services. Cities have always had the ability to bid as a single unified service provider. They've just not been able to do that. Next slide. And again, as Captain Milliken said, we are kind of in a different area with this right now. This is the last slide, where Senator Latvala, because of the wide variation in our costs and whether or not we feel this thing could work, really felt like it made sense to establish a special committee that had representation of different stakeholders, decide on the scope of service, and really work together to see if we could get a study that would really kind of get this thing off the dime that people could really believe in. The more narrow focus of the committee was to actually cost out the difference. When we said that the Sanford Milliken plan would be $14 million over our current system and $25 million over the IPS consultant system, just cost it out. Quite frankly, we felt very comfortable with that because we do have an auditor that was involved in our analysis. She has audit-ready documents to show what we showed as uncosted items, etc. But the reality is, and the Commission really saw that too, if we're really going to look at this and try to really say once and for all, could it work or not, you really need to kind of take that hard look, and so you need to operationalize fire transport first. Because there are, and basically admittedly, Captain Milliken will say there are gaps in some of their, in their proposal, and a professional would come in, working with stakeholders in the system. What are those gaps? What would make it work? So again, how would that system work with 18 different fire departments? How would it be costed? And understand that at the end of the day, by the time we come up with comparative costs, we still do have a system that will work. We have a great system now. We do not want to blow up a great system. We want to make sure whatever way we go, including the county's own proposal, because we had always planned to operationalize that it will work. We have a good system. We do not want to blow it up. So really, that's kind of where we're at. So at this point, we're working on the scope for the operational study for our current system, for the IPS proposal, and for fire transport proposal. And then actually an accounting firm will back that up and cost it, validate it, and that's basically it. The only other issue that has occurred, we did go to the County Commission on December 20th, based on Paramedics Plus offering up really $6 million in savings over the course of their agreement. The County Commission did extend that bid. It's good till September 30th of 2014. We can extend it for an additional year, and in 2015 we have to go to bid. So I think the thinking was take the savings. The fund needs the savings. It's working well. We don't want to blow it up. And in the meantime, there's a lot of work to be done to look and make sure, are there other efficiencies, including the potential of fire transport, that will make it better. So that's really where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maureen. That was excellent information. I was trying to take notes, and I'm sure I saw a lot of people trying to take notes because there's just so much to consider, obviously. Our last presentation before we get to the questions and answers will be from Sunstar Ambulance, and that would be Debbie Bass, the Chief Administrative Officer.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
You guys staying awake out there? Anderson?